Upadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimati Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa iti name Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa name Gola Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prasayate Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa name Gola Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prasayate Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadai Gaura Vrindam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadai Gaura Vrindam Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gauranga 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 Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Hare Krishna Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana 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 Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. 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 Hari Krishna, Hari Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. 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 Hari Krishna. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. 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 Govinda Rama Madana Mohana Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gauranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gauranga Jaya Jaya Shri Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gauranga Jaya Jaya Shri Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gauranga Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa
Honorable Namaste. Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prasade Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadha Shivasadi Go Bhakta Brindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Honorable Namaste. Good morning everyone. Let's continue our study program in connection with the teachings of Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction. It is about the spiritual master, the bona fide representative of the Supreme Person. I'd like to reiterate again as we go along because the science is so vast and we are given this opportunity to have a grasp, a glimpse, an opportunity to be able to see and understand this science. This science will free a person from the predicament that everybody is facing, a struggle for survival, a struggle to find real fulfillment and happiness. So in connection with these teachings of Rupa Goswami, I'd like to reiterate again to have a recall of what the saintly person or the great Vaishnavas, the devotees, are trying to convey, to give us. Here, the qualification is this. The spiritual master is like akin to the ambassador. So he's an ambassador coming from the Supreme Person. Someone who represents Lord Krishna. The qualification of a spiritual master is that he must have realized the conclusion of scriptures by deliberation and arguments, and thus be able to convince others of these conclusions. The spiritual master is someone who sat down under the feet of the ambassador of God, the spiritual master in the long line of disciplic succession, coming from the Supreme Person as what is described as parampara, the unbroken chain of spiritual master, confidential loving servants of the Supreme Person, the ambassador of God, passing on the same message, the same teachings that will benefit all of us, humanity, all living entities. So last time, when we were discussing about the first qualification of spiritual master, is that the reason we should understand what he's trying to convey or to teach us is he's giving us something that he has. He's giving us something that he completely understood and realized. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demand, the action of anger and urges of the tongue, belly and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So we were discussing last time about how we can make our minds our friend, that one should elevate the mind, not use the mind and elevate it into being a friend. And one should not degrade himself, degrade the mind by his activities. So we were given a choice. He was able to explain to us, if you do this, you achieve this. If you do this, you achieve this. So the process that is given to us is the purificatory process that will purify us from this misconception of false bodily identification, free us from ignorance of our true identity. Because we have been so much engrossed in this body, we identify ourselves as this body. Now there is a science that the spiritual master is passing to us. This is the purificatory process that will purify us from this contamination. It's like this. For example, you have a wound, and then you get a cut, and that wound, you try to take care of that wound, and as it gets well, it gets itchy. It gets itchy. And then the mind tells us, scratch it, so you'll feel this relief from this itchiness. It's just a simple wound, but we're talking about a conditioning that has engulfed us, that has separated us from what we're always longing. This happiness that connects the soul, us, with the source of happiness, the Supreme Person. So the mind has unlimited desires. So when we come in contact with the representative of the Supreme Person, he gives us a process that will purify our heart, purify the mind. But as we go along, it's not that the wound like the wound gets healed immediately. As it gets healed, there's itchiness. So the person who takes this process, it's like his wound is getting better, getting healed, but there's itchiness. And he does not scratch it, because if he scratches it, it becomes more itchy until it becomes a wound again. So the living entity who is in condition in this body, when we understand the process that will free us, purify us, heal the wound that has wounded us and put us into this very inconvenient situation wherein it's always itchy. Here in our school, there's a dog here. His body is full of fleas. And she has dog brothers and full of fleas also. Because thousands of fleas have invaded the body of the dog. It bites him, sucks his blood. He's always uneasy. Scratch, 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 thousands of fleas until, mind you, this dog died of stress. He just passed away because of so much fleas trying to bite him. So it's also like that. If we don't take this process, this purificatory process, to free us from this conditioning of false bodily identification, which is identifying ourselves as matter, and we try to look for fulfillment and happiness by following the dictates of the mind, then we're doomed. Because there's innumerable desires in the mind, just like thousands of fleas trying to bite that poor dog. So with wisdom, from listening from the ambassador of God, who is master of his senses, who has control over his desires, his mind, who is completely under the influence of the Supreme Person, who is in harmony with that relationship with the Supreme Person. So that's what's being taught to us, educating us about this science wherein we can direct our love in devotional service, in harmony with our true position and our true function. So we become free from these innumerable material desires. The desire now is not to follow the mind, but rather the desire now is to do the will of God. When the spiritual master comes to this world and convey this message, pass on canvas, he speaks. He tells us a process that is perfect. It is hearing from authorities. Because we're thinking, most of us, experience is the best process for education, to experience everything. but that is for less intelligent. My teacher, my friend, is telling this person, if the process you follow is through learning, through experience, the time allotted to your body while you're in this body is not enough. And you have not experienced so many factors that the time factor in your body is enough. And he tells us, if you're intelligent, you listen from authorities. And what is that listening? Why do you listen? Why do we listen from authorities? It is not because we need to follow them just to protect us, but to be connected with that love. Because they love us so much, they don't want us to suffer. Here in the Philippines, we have a hero here, our national hero. His first teacher is his mother. When he was 3 years old, when his body was 3 years in the body, when he was 3 years old, his lovable mother is his first teacher. She loves our hero here so much and educated him with wisdom. One time, this young hero was sitting down looking at this lamp. Then his mother advised him not to touch that fire because he will get burned. And when you experience this burning sensation in your finger, it's very painful. He followed the advice of his mother, even though he's a child, a very young child. Why? Because he knows his mother loves him. He knows that his mother is his well-wisher, trying to protect him. So when the spiritual master, our eternal friend, the ambassador of God, comes in our midst, our following him is based upon our heart, our whole being, because we will experience God's love, compassion upon us, wishing us well. The adversity we face, we think we can hack it out. Just like this person who is so arrogant, he thinks he's gonna cross this green hell, this jungle of material life by his own power. It's futile. Because material nature is very powerful. The conditioning that we are put in, we have become servant of the mind. The spiritual master is someone who is in control of his mind, and he wants us to be in that situation. He wants us that the urge of the mind be pacified and directed upon what we're longing for, the connection with real joy and happiness. Not like this dog with thousands of fleas in his body biting him. So now we're wounded. We have been covered by this body. We have become so diseased. We've become so sick with materialism. But there is a cure. The medicine is none different, none other than God Himself, coming from the lips of His ambassador, because the ambassador of God is the bona fide spiritual master who can free us from this disease. I used to fetch children. I drive this minibus and fetch children in our community. Young children. Nursery, kindergarten. Every time I fetch them, I have to pass 2 cemeteries. Every day, I pass by this cemetery. Cemeteries where they bury the body, dead bodies. Then I pass again to fetch a group of children in another community. I pass again through another cemetery. Every day. This disease of materialism, this conditioning, has so much covered us that around us everybody is undergoing this process of changes in their body, and they will experience this experience of leaving the body. And when I pass by, openly I see parade, but actually it's a procession wherein they carry the casket in this nice sedan to bring this dead body and bury it. But illusion is very strong. This disease, this conditioning that has engulfed us. We have become so callous. The conditioning, it's so natural. People die, they get buried, their body gets buried. And when I come home, our neighbor tells us, our friend, Nina, just passed away. Huh? She died. Everybody's dying around, but we cannot see that somewhere along the line, we will also face the same fate. So in scriptures, with wisdom coming from the devotee and Lord Krishna, He's telling us, for one who is born, death is certain. The living entity, us, continually passes from one body to another, from a baby body to a child's body, to a young boy's body, to a middle-aged body, and to an old-age body, and then we leave this body. He tells us about the quality of the soul, who is eternal. But how come we are muddling in this muck, experiencing all the fleas biting us? So to succeed in spiritual life, to succeed is to follow someone who loves us eternally. Just like this young hero, he follows his mother's instruction not to touch the fire because he understands, he experienced the care and love that his mother is giving him. So when we meet someone who is God's compassion, who is the representative of that love, he passes on. The breeze, the experience of that love, he touches our heart. He influences us to taste what we're longing for, the joy we're longing for. So when we follow the process he gives us, we become purified from this misgiving of false bodily identification and become free from this lordship mentality, and we are now guided that our mind becomes our friend because He gives us a process that will protect us, purify the mind, and He educates us about the reality of this world. My spiritual teacher, Jagad Guru Siddhaswarup, one time I was really amazed and I wonder, he gave us a story of the three little pigs. And I have a total recall. Oh, that story, I used to listen and hear that from my teacher when I was in grade school, when I was still really in a body that's young, about, I think grade 1, grade 2. The story, because children, they like to hear stories. I really love to hear stories, Aesop fable, about different stories that is helpful. But in this case, he gave the story of the three little pigs because it is a materialistic story of how we can be protected. But it's based upon taking shelter in this material world. So the story goes like this. It's really interesting and amusing, and I'm amazed, and it's really interesting. The three pigs, brothers in union, have the same goal, to be protected. The first pig, the piglet, who have grown up, wants to be protected by building shelter, a house that will protect him from material elements. But in this case, they're trying to protect themselves from the big, bad wolf. So everybody, all of us, we're afraid of one thing. Everybody is afraid of death. It's not that we understand this science, we're chanting, I'm not afraid of death. No, we should not be hypocrites. Death really is mind-blowing, So when I was a kid, I don't want to die. Because when I was a kid, I was thinking, what if mama leaves me? She dies. Where will she go? About me, time will come. I will face death. What will I do? And in this case, it's a mind awakening experience because our spiritual master gave us the process, pass on to us the process that will protect us, the holy name. So when we begin to chant in a way that wound, that anxiety, the wound becomes healed. It's like the boiling water is beginning to simmer down and cool down, but still hot. So back to the story of the three little pigs. The first piglet. I will build a house made out of hay. So he gathered a lot of sticks, and then he constructed this form, and then he constructed and gathered all this hay, this dried grass, and make a cover for that structure to protect him from the big bad wolf. But the big bad wolf is very powerful. So when my teacher was telling me about that story, that he's so powerful that when he uses windpipe to put out air, whoop, 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 whoo. What happened to that house made out of hay? The pig is there sitting down. Wow! The big bad wolf came and ate him. So I was smiling, listening to my spiritual master. Then another pig comes. I will build a house made out of wood. So he constructed. Maybe he learned carpentry works from someone who is also a master of carpentry, and he's bringing all the hammer, the saw, cut wood in the forest, build this house, put a lot of nails, arrange it in such a way that the door is with hinges that is concrete, made out of metal, and that wood cannot be touched by the big bad wolf. I was smiling, listening to my teacher. Then the big bad wolf came. Whoop, whoop, whoo, and that house made of wood blew away. And the piglet is there. Oink, 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 oink. Eaten by the big bad wolf. The other one, he said, I will build a house made out of stone. So he knows masonry. Masonry is the use of cement. He built these building blocks, really arranged in such a way that's really structured and strong. So the big bad wolf cannot enter. But in the story of materialistic story, what happened was the big bad wolf was not able to blow that house. But in truth, when my spiritual master was telling us this story, the big bad wolf came. But he did not directly went to that door. He went inside the chimney and catch the piglet, oink, oink, and ate him. So, for so long, our shelter is this body. We cling to this body. We look at the mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall. How do I look? But the signs are there. Hey, white hairs. My teeth are falling down. I cannot see anymore clearly. I cannot hear clearly. My bones are becoming crickety and feeble. I cannot even stand. I cannot even jog like before. So Maya illusion, this conditioning is very strong. So if our shelter is based upon this understanding, this short-sighted understanding that there's only one element, matter, and we're not able to understand and see the soul with wisdom and understanding, and not guided by someone who is an authority, what will happen to us? We will be a fool, a moron, trying to follow the dictates of the mind, the innumerable desire, just like trying to scratch and try to get away from all these pleas. But the pleas, the dog cannot get away from the pleas, and is always in anxiety that he cannot control his mind, scratch, 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 until the person dies. So a man must elevate himself by his own mind. So the spiritual master is someone who can guide us and teach us. So the urge of the mind is controlled. The urge of talking, because we begin to talk about the eternal pastimes of the Supreme Person. This absolute eternal truth of what the main reason the ambassador comes. He gives us the clear vision, the clear understanding of our true nature and where we should be, that eternal word of loving service. And all the desire in our mind are like the fleas that always bites us. And we become free from this misgiving and misconception of trying to find shelter, protection in something that is not really real protection, because the body that we have is made out of building blocks, and these building blocks, they're all continually changing. We are so attracted to someone, and in illusion, thinking, oh, like a young man, he gets attracted to a beautiful form of a young lady. But when that person leaves the body, when he sees the body, he tries to, how come you left me? My love, my heart. Embrace that body, hug that body. But it's stinking, it's becoming, the gas are coming out, it's decaying, and it becomes repulsive to him. But in his heart, in his mind, the person he loves is gone. So what happens is that in illusion, it's deflected upon the body, and that person leaves the body, we are at the loss. So there's two things I like to recap, to tell. That what we're longing for can be satiated when it is in harmony with that source of joy and happiness. And when we enter that world of appreciating the love that is being given to us. Just like when this young hero listening to the mother, he followed his mother. He's not less intelligent, he's intelligent because we are advised to listen from authorities. And who are those authorities? They're the representative of God. So until and unless a person can become free from this disease of materialism, and if the person does not follow this process, this scientific process, that is in truth, in reality, absolute, eternal, because it's connected with transcendence, our true nature. And then we can be following the science, wherein we can engage in activities that is with wisdom, eternal wisdom, and that world of love. So we must follow a bona fide spiritual master whose mind, whose heart is focused upon that world, eternal world of pleasing God. We have forgotten who we are. We have forgotten our true friend. So now he comes as the confidential, loving servant of God, telling us, love the Supreme Person and follow this process. So we stop there. We'll continue again another day, So the point is this: we must have clear understanding of who we are based upon the teachings of God, not upon what we experience with our senses, and not to be deluded by those who are deluded, because the blind cannot lead the blind. So let's continue again tomorrow. Let's have a short chant before we part ways. I'm sorry, because it's not our language. It's very hard the tongue that conditions so much of speaking so many dialects that's not in English, Especially us here in the Philippines. We have a lot of dialects, and your tongue gets wrapped up, that the mind wants to, you tell something that you have heard from your spiritual master, the tongue you have to, and you have to learn the art of speaking English to communicate to so many individuals who would want and can understand English language. Haribol Namaste, thank you very much for taking part and listening. So hopefully we'll meet again to hear the science that will please our eternal friend, Lord Krsna. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, our Gurudev.
Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa iti namine Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastaya Te Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Satya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gauranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gauranga Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gauranga Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gauranga Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana 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 Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Shrimati Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Nami, Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasati Gaurabhaktavinam, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Bol, Namaste.
Hare Bol.